Hi, all, and welcome to the Heart-Based Business Show. I am your host, Dr. Shirlene Reeves, and I'm here for you every Wednesday. Today, we've got a really interesting conversation. Well, conversation if you ask questions. Otherwise, I just have to share with you. But I have a question for you. And here it is. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could make your money work for you rather than you working for your money for the rest of your life? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, is how you can make money just based on 5 steps. And you might be saying to yourself, well, as an entrepreneur, I don't make enough money to even bother with this kind of thing. I don't even have to consider it at this point. But actually you do. Because if you aren't mentally prepared for making money, you'll never be able to make it. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is the 5 steps to financial freedom. And they're so simple, you just wouldn't believe it. And I think a lot of people have their financial house turned upside down. And I'm going to talk to you about that, what that means right after this little break. And welcome back. This is a really exciting topic. I love talking about money. I like making money, and I love setting goals for my year and reaching my goals. If I didn't reach my goals, I'd be pretty depressed. And it may be that some of you are challenged with even setting a goal. Have you set a goal for this year for how much you want to make, or have you even thought about how much you want to make this year? Or have you even looked at how much it costs you every month so you know how much money that you need to make? I've talked to so many entrepreneurs, some of my dearest friends even, and they say, oh, I have to make so much more money. I have to make money. I have to make money. But the truth is, at this point right now, you only have to make as much money as it takes for you to pay your bills and your living expenses. And if you don't spend a lot of money on your bills and you're not out buying new cars or big screen TVs, then you aren't going to have to make that much money. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. I don't want to tell you the secret of how to make multitudes of money until the very end. But I'm going to tell you what I do myself. And that's what I always do with everybody, because I won't share with you what I think you should do without doing it first. Because how many things have you tried that didn't work? Well, for me, I've tried a whole lot of things that didn't work. And what I did finally, when I found the things that did work, I teach my students these things, or I put it in my book, Selling Through Your Heart. And this topic is in my book. In fact, it's in the last segment, all about finances, because if you follow the blueprint that I gave you in the book, and you can also get that blueprint for free right on my website at shirlenereeves.com. Just go there and look in the footer, and it'll talk to you about the business blueprint. You can go there and get it for free. No problem. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is a little bit different, because some of us are afraid to make money because we don't know what to do with it once we get there. We're so confused. And others of us are making money, but we keep throwing it away because we get used to having a certain amount of income or living on a certain amount of dollars. And then if we have a lot more dollars, we want to just throw it all away and get back to where we were because that's where we're comfortable. Well, you probably wouldn't be listening to me right now if you were comfortable, because you know what I'm going to tell you. And this is very different than what most people will tell you. And why do I know about this? Well, let me tell you. For years, I was a certified financial educator, and I taught on business and university campuses because I wanted to let students know not only how to make money, but how to save the money that they make so that they're not always saving the same money. Now, here's my first tip I have for you. If you don't spend money on things you don't need, you don't have to make that money again. Did you hear what I just said? If you don't spend money on things you don't need, you don't have to make that money again. So let me use an example. Maybe every month you are paying money for Audible, but you don't listen to Audible hardly ever. And yet it just keeps going. I got caught on this just the other day with iTunes. I somehow managed to sign up for iTunes, and it's been going on and on. I think I've only listened to it twice. And yeah, it's not a lot of money. It was only $9, I think, a month. But still, that is money I would have had to make again. And $9 a month adds up. So look at, number one, this is one of my first points. Look at the money that it comes out automatically every month. That's the lifeblood of another company that you can't afford to pay for. So you want to go through and look at each one of those things like I did with iTunes. Look at Audible. I noticed Audible started up with me again. So I'm going to have to get on that right away because these are kind of things that run in the background and we don't even think about them until we decide we just don't have enough money. Then we start looking at our credit cards because what happens is it just automatically goes on your credit card every month, whether you realize it or not. And just because you don't see it on the credit card statement doesn't mean it isn't there. So my first suggestion is that you go and look at your credit card statement and look for the repeat numbers. So they come over and over and over every month. And as soon as you find out what those things are, then write them down, write the amount down. And when it's coming out every month, then call the company and tell them you want to cancel it. That's the best thing to do because look, as I took care of iTunes, by the way, and as soon as I took care of them, I saved $9 a month that I don't have to make every month anymore. Now, some things we have to spend money on. We have to spend money on food, or maybe our mortgage or our rent or our car payments or insurance, which is very, very important. You never want to not pay your insurance. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that in a little while. But you all need to know and understand that if you want to grow your wealth and keep it, you have to keep an eye on your credit cards because this stuff, maybe you just try to trial something, maybe a face cream or some kind of lotion or maybe, and they want to send it to you every month. Have you noticed that? And the first one's free. Oh, the first one's always free. But then they're hoping you'll forget and then just keep paying every month. And then it shows up and it's like suddenly it's $90 you didn't plan on spending. Well, that doesn't mean you keep it. That just means that you leave it in the box and send it back and tell them that you no longer want this and you want a credit back. Can you imagine having some kind of makeup stuff that's $60 to $90 a month? I would never pay that because it adds up so fast. And this is just like your cable bill. You might have channels that you don't watch very often. Go in and look at that. And make sure that what you have on your cable bill, you are actually utilizing. Otherwise, cut it off. And when I had cable, I don't have it where I live here, but when I had cable, I was down on the minimum, the very smallest amount, because I didn't want to waste my money. So that's one of my tips that I have for you is to go look at your credit cards and make sure that there's nothing coming out of your credit card month after month after month that you have forgotten about. And it's so easy to forget about it. It actually takes me and my assistant to catch these things on my credit card. And then she'll say to me, "What is this? Did you start this thing up?" Because I do have a lot of automatic things just to run my company, like my client management. I have to have that every month. And I have a person that takes care of all my website. I pay him every month. But those things are recouped as I move through my year, and my students pay for my courses. So it takes care of that. So watch very, very closely. Don't just put your credit card bill off to the side on the kitchen table, because you are never going to be in good shape if you do that. The other thing I want to tell you is, if you have a lot of credit card debt, what you want to do is lay it out. I talk all about this in my book, but lay out all your credit cards. Just put them all out on the table, and then look at the statement that you received. See how much interest you're paying every month. And if you have high credit card debt, or it seems to be going higher, then look at the ones that are the easiest to pay off and pay the minimum on the others, and pay maybe $25 or $50 more if you can on the one that you're working on that maybe has the highest interest rate, because the highest interest rate is the most painful. Oh my gosh, it can be up to 22%, and you're paying 22% of whatever you have on that credit card. It's impossible. It goes it adds up faster than you can possibly even pay it off. So start with one and add $25 to $50 on that one until you get it paid off. Then whatever you were paying on that first one, say maybe you were paying $50 or $75 on the first one, once you pay that one off, add the $50 or $75 on the next one that you want to pay off. And you continue to do this until you pay off all your credit cards. I've talked to so many people who have had that challenge. Now, I want to give you the 5 steps to financial freedom. This is what I've taught all over the world, actually. And people take this into account and they do it. And it's amazing, because they actually have plenty of money when they're done. So I hope you have a pencil and a piece of paper, because we have our financial house totally upside down. Why do I say that? Well, if you've ever had a job, then you probably had a 401k. As entrepreneurs, we have Sep IRAs. But the problem with these programs is that once we put our money in them, we can't get our money out. Have you ever tried? And not only that, we don't even look at what we put our money into. We simply just let the financial planner say, oh, I think this is a good idea. And you go, okay, because you really don't know anything about what the counts are or how they're doing. And if you noticed, the market, well, this just came up just a short time ago. Maybe it was only a week, 2 weeks ago, where I actually kind of loved it, because there's a group of the public that got together and they started bidding against this hedge fund. And you probably don't understand it for the most part, so I'm not going to go into all of it. But what they did is the hedge fund bet on the fact that this stock was going to lose money. And all these people got together and invested in the stock. So the stock kept going up and up and up. And even to this day, that company has lost billions of dollars as a result of it. But they bet on it to go down, and people made it go up. So what I'm trying to say is, the stock market is like gambling. So if you want to gamble your hard-earned money away, go ahead and do that. But I put that at number 5. It's considered long-term savings, because if you don't have enough money to put on your table, food on your table, or gas in your car, or pay your rent, or pay your mortgage, you shouldn't be investing in a 401k or a Sep IRA. And people go, oh my gosh, but that's how I save money in taxes. Well, at this point right now, you are paying the least amount of taxes we've ever paid. We've enjoyed a long run of this. And from what I understand, the new administration is going to start raising all the taxes. But the point I'm trying to make is, we have no concept of what the taxes are going to be by the time you go to take that money out. And you don't even know if that money is going to be there, because if you watch the stock market, it's like this all the time. And here's another thing that people don't realize. When the stock market goes down, you lose all your money. You can't recoup your money unless it's over a long period of time. And that's the game, is you put your money, you put your money, you put your money, you look the other way, and boom, all the money's gone. That happens so many times recently. And every time the market goes down, it erodes, takes away more of your bottom line. So what's number one if that's number 5? Because everybody says, oh yes, and the company will pay an additional 3%. Well, so what? That's nothing when you need to put money on the table, or perhaps you're building your business and you need that money for your business. Don't put it in a place where you can't get to it. And when you put it in the market, you can't get it back out. That's the problem. And a lot of financial planners are probably going, oh my God. Anyway, that's number 5. Number 1 is cash flow. If you stop putting all your money in the IRAs and the 401ks, you will have cash flow. You must have cash flow no matter what. And because that is the only way you can run your business. That is the only way you can feed your family. That is the only way you can keep a roof over your head. I guarantee you, no stock market is going to pay your mortgage or your rent. Have you ever tried it? Write them a letter and find out. Say, you know what? You have all my money. I was wondering if you would pay my rent. What do you think they're going to hear? Are you going to hear back from them? No, of course you're not. You know, once you put your money in there, it's gone. They're not going to help you in any way possible. So you have to help yourself. And I don't put my money in the stock market. Let me tell you, I do not, unless it's a particular kind of product that never loses money and only gains money. I'm very, very conscientious about that. So cash flow is number 1. You got to make sure that that cash flow is coming in. Number 2 is make sure you have proper protection for your family. You must have life insurance and I'm not selling life insurance, so don't get me wrong, but if you are the major bread earner and something happened to you, who would feed your family? Who would support you? You have to have proper protection. Just like we have car insurance, you have to have life insurance if one person is a major provider, because if they pass away, oh my gosh, you are in so much trouble because suddenly there won't be any money for you to have cash flow and feed your family. And they say you need about 3 years of protection in the life insurance. And you can get a lot of it, a lot of different kinds. And some of it's very inexpensive, particularly if you're young. But make sure that you have proper protection also to protect your cash flow. And that has to do with your health insurance, because if you got to pay a bunch of money out for your health insurance, so much for your cash flow. It is gone. So number 1, create cash flow. Number 2, ensure you have proper protection. Number 3 is debt management. I started off this show talking about debt management and how important it is for you to be able to pay off those credit cards, because when you have so much interest on those credit cards, they triple very, very quickly. And a lot of people see this in school debt. And they say, oh, you don't have to pay it. And then a year later, it's 3 times as much as it was before. So you want to manage your debt. Know what your bottom line is. Know how much you need to cover whatever it is you need to pay every month. And then anything over and above that, if you have credit card problems and challenges, and so many people do right now, try and use some of that cash flow to pay off your debt. Because if you're paying the banks, oh my gosh, you are going to be having such a hard time just creating the cash flow, because the banks take it all, right? Just in order to do your credit cards. Now, number 4 is to maintain an emergency fund. An emergency fund, if you have a job, is going to be about 3 months worth of your salary. 3 months. So you're going to want to maintain some kind of an emergency fund and that's what you would work on after you pay off your credit cards. You notice that the emergency fund is number 4 after you manage your debt. Number 1, create cash flow. Number 2, proper protection. Number 3, manage debt. And number 4, maintain an emergency fund. I had a situation where when I was living in San Diego, I had an employee and she I'd walked all the way up the hill from where at the bottom of the hill, our office sat at the top of the hill, and she walked all the way up the hill because her car had broken down. And she had nothing but credit card debt. Oh my gosh, she had so much credit card debt and no emergency fund. And she walked up the hill. She came in huffing and puffing. She said, I don't know what to do. My car's at the bottom of the hill. I can't afford to have a tow truck come and get it. I just don't know what to do. And this one guy is going to come and it's going to have to sit in his yard until I can get the money to pay for the car to be repaired. So now she's working for the repair of the car. She had to have enough money so that she could just get it hauled to the car place where she was having it fixed. Then it was going to cost her $250 a month for them to store it until she could get enough money to pay the $1,200 that she was going to need to repair it. Do you see how this adds up? If she had had an emergency fund, she would have had the money for them to haul it there and repair it, and she would have saved a ton of money. By the time it was all said and done, looking back over her story, it took her 4 months to get that car fixed. And she ended up with such a problem. And her credit cards, she had to put it on 3 different credit cards because she hadn't paid them off. And she didn't have any emergency fund at all, as I said before. And so this cost her a fortune. It cost her, by the time it was all said and done, about $4,500. And it would never have cost her that much if she had been able to pay it outright. And unfortunately, we aren't often able to have any type of insurance that can pay for car repairs. I wish we could. If we could, I would have been on that right away because I love my car and it's older and I don't want to buy another one because I know this one so well. And yeah, I got to pay for any repairs. And sometimes, I think about 6 months ago, my repairs, well, no, it was more than a year ago because I don't drive anywhere now because of COVID. But it was $3,000 to have my car repaired. If I hadn't had an emergency fund and I couldn't just write out a check, I would have had to pay 22% on that same money. So it would have doubled every 3 years. This is why I'm telling you, make sure that you follow these 5 steps. And as I said before, long-term savings is the very last thing that you ever have. So don't be fooled into thinking, oh, I'll pay less tax if I put my money in a Sep IRA, which is what we do for our businesses, or put money in a 401k if you're an employee. Some of us who have a business work part-time as employees, and then others just don't have a business at all. Maybe their spouse has a full-time job. Try not to put it in the market. I beg of you not to put it in the market right now, and not for much longer. I think you can pay off all of your credit cards with what you're putting in a 401k. And think about this. If the employer is giving you 3% on your 401k and the bank is taking 22%, does that add up to pay it to hold the debt on your credit cards? What do you think? Does that add up? Does that even make sense? No, of course it doesn't make sense. So make sure that you are not wasting your money putting it into the stock market, because it may not even be there. They play with that money all the time. And most people don't even look at their statements, so they don't know how much money they've lost. And then they would see, if they are in 401k, there's as many as 17 fees in that to pay for all these people that maintain that account. So keep in mind, please, please, please turn your financial house right side up. I beg of you, because it's the only way you're going to be able to survive. Otherwise, there's no point. So let's do this one more time, okay? All right. So first of all, we need to do cash flow. Cash flow is number one, and proper protection is number two. Number three is to manage your debt. And number four is to maintain an emergency fund. And last, after everything else, you save long term. That's what I mean by turning your financial house right side up. Now, I wish some of you would ask a question. You'll probably ask me later. But these are your 5 steps to financial freedom. Hang them on your refrigerator, put them wherever you can. And if you need help, I have so much more than that in the Turn Your Financial House Right Side Up. It's a fabulous e-course. You're welcome to talk to me during the time that you go through this e-course. This is the URL for that e-course. I think it'll help you out tremendously. It talks about student debt. It talks about long-term care, all those things that we need to have in order to make sure that we live comfortably. Now, I told you at the end of the show, I'd give you my little trick for why you don't need a pile of money in the bank. When I was 21 years old, I learned from Robert Allen, who I truly admire. I've even interviewed him on my show. It's like, I got to sit down with my mentor. How awesome was that? And he wrote a book called, that talked all about having multiple streams of income. And that's what it was called. It is called Multiple Streams of Income. And I sat down and read that when I was 22, 21, somewhere in there. And I've been working toward that my entire life. And what that means is you have different streams of income for different things. And in my business, I have lots of courses. I could teach at any time. I also do one-on-one. I have annuities that double over time. I have property. I have all kinds of things that assure my income. So I don't have to worry. And it allows me to keep the prices of my classes at a reasonable price that people can afford, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I was just talking to somebody yesterday who said, I sell my sales course for $19.97. He said, oh, that should be $7,500. I'm all about leaving a legacy and teaching as many people as I possibly can before I leave this earth. If I charge $7,500 for one class, I'd have very few students in that class, and I couldn't leave the legacy that I really want to leave. And part of that legacy is this show that I do every Wednesday and bringing you information. And I so appreciate when you're here with me. So do me a favor, subscribe and push like, and you can even make a comment. I'll answer it myself. I would love to chat with you. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. And we'll talk about something that will change your life, just like this show did today. See you next week. Bye-bye.